hopefully everyone out there is feeling, if not an easing, then
maybe a little optimism.
I would love it to be some optimism. Even if it's just about, I can handle this.
Yeah.
Even that's something to be grateful for, optimistic for. Trust in yourself and your resourcefulness and your ability to find the tools to help you through it. Think back, where were you, let's say, March the 10th versus now in the middle of September, and look at all you've gone through and be proud of yourself and your family and your business for what you have navigated, because it's been rocky and it's also been unprecedented, and you can't plan for something that has never ever happened before. So, maybe give yourself a little pat on the back and be kind, be gentle, and
be grateful.
Be grateful.
Welcome to the EnVibe Life podcast with Amy Parker and Cheryl Dunn. By tuning in, you are joining a community that will inspire you to increase balance, wellness, and joy in your life. We'll offer expert information and insightful conversations to help us all on our journey to live more in vibe. For more information and articles, remember to also check out our website at envibelife.com. That's EnVibelife.com. And we're grateful that you're here. Welcome to the EnVibe Life podcast. It's Amy Parker and Cheryl Dunn here. And today we're doing another little checkup on how the environment's going, how the situation is going with COVID, because that's still happening. And we haven't done this checkup since July. So we figured it was time to check in and see.
And today is we're in the second week in September now is where we are as we're filming this.
So about 2 months since we filmed the last one. So we're just want to give an update on what's going on in Austin, Texas, what's going on in our lives, the pulse that's going on with our businesses and at the studio amongst the clientele that I see there.
Yeah. And we definitely know more about the Austin community than others because we live in Austin and we're based in Austin. But in general, school has started. And our sons have done it a little differently, although they have all been completely online so far. But I think your sons are going back in person soon. Is that right?
Hopefully in a week or two. I haven't gotten that personal email that they can yet, but I got a generic email that led me to believe that I would be in the next group to go back.
Because your schools are doing it in a phased approach. They're bringing back X number and then X plus 10 and then X plus 20 and doing it like that.
And the first group got phased in, and then the whole, the superintendent and the other people that are in charge of making that decision met after that phase in and made the decision that we would go ahead with the next phase in.
And in Austin's chart, I think it's a 5-level alert system. And we dropped from level 4 to level 3. So we're in level 3 right now and things are still going pretty well. The last time we filmed this, Cheryl, we were saying how we felt that everyone had an elevated stress. Like things had really just taken up a notch in Austin. In fact, we weren't even in the same room filming this. We were in our separate places. I wasn't getting out much at that point because of some things going on with my kids at that time, one of them needing to have a surgery and things like that. So we were being pretty protective of ourselves at that moment. Right now, Austin's numbers have stabilized, which has been really nice. And so my youngest son, from his perspective, has been in an online model, and his school is going to be starting a phase-in approach next week, I think, but it's a K through 12 school, and they're bringing the high schoolers in last. So he still has another month online, but the school itself is going to start bringing kids onto campus. They're just wanting not to stretch their resources with administration too thin by bringing everyone on at the same time. The way I understand the philosophy, I haven't really been involved in that. But for him, the online so far has been going actually pretty pretty well, I'd say. And I'm just curious to see what's going to happen when they go on campus. But I don't know, things.
So I have one in middle school and both of them are first year middle school and first year high school.
Yeah, crazy.
And for one, I feel like the online is going okay. You know, it's not that bad. He enjoys the breaks that he's getting. He's definitely one that doesn't need to be sitting in front of that computer all the time. So I think they've capped each class only gets 15 minutes of Zoom time, and then you can get off and work on your own, or you can stay on and work with the teacher. So one is doing well with that. My other one, who has always done really well in school and never had any sort of, needed assistance in anything, it's not as well for him.
Yeah.
I think he focuses better in a classroom and retains more, and then things come very easy for him. But when he's at home, it's not, the retention is not there, and it's not going as well.
Well, everyone does learn differently. Yeah, I've talked a little about before, and I was thinking this might be a really good topic for another podcast at some point. A couple of my sons have learning differences, and so have gone through a lot of academic testing over the years. And, that's something that in those circumstances you really learn. Are they more visual learners or auditory learners? Are they more easily distracted or less easily distracted? But even kids without learning differences, you have your strengths, or adults also, you have your strengths on do you do better orally, visually, in person, on Zoom. And so
completely.
Yeah, that's something that, if this were going to be permanent, you'd want to have some sensitivity to how your kids learn best and try to monitor their system and accommodate that. But everyone just got thrown into it. Another thing that this just made me think, so we did a podcast 3 or 4 weeks ago with Dr. Vera Waring, who is an educator and has her pulse on a lot of public schools in Texas. And it was right before schools were about to go back. And she even talked a lot about how the teachers and administrators were feeling. And a couple weeks after things had been going for a few weeks, it'd be interesting to bring her back again, and let's see, how are the teachers feeling and how are the administrators feeling. Again, from a parent's perspective, I feel like things are probably I'm probably a skeptic, and things are probably better than I had thought they'd be. And I felt that last spring too. I thought, this is going to be a disaster. And then as it went, I thought, this is actually going a whole lot better than I thought it would. Not every parent I know at the same school felt the same way, but that was our experience. But the teachers, I wonder how they're feeling.
Well, what's interesting is, since we're doing this phase-in thing at our school, not all of our teachers are coming back.
Yeah, ours either.
So when the teachers aren't there, the kids are just going to the library and doing Zoom class still in school. And I know some teachers have gotten, have expressed that they're not coming back because one reason or another, but they're still going to teach via Zoom, which I think is a place of contention for some parents. It's interesting with one child who does okay via Zoom and the other one that doesn't. The one that doesn't do well via Zoom, I want his teacher to be there.
Right.
Because it doesn't benefit his education to be doing it via Zoom. Then I feel like the school becomes a glorified babysitter if the teacher's still Zoom. Now, my other son, it's now just kind of, not to change the subject too much, but now when they do go back, they're going to be asked to wear that mask all day long.
Right. Yes, that's true.
And I have one that I think will be completely fine with that. My other one has allergies and asthma and exercise-induced asthma, and he does not wear a mask well or often, right? He has had a little bit of anxiety when he's had to wear it too much. So I think him wearing it all day is going to be a big challenge. So I think we're going to try the going back with him. But if it doesn't work, I'm going to bring him home.
Yeah.
Same
with my son. Because his school, again, even when they go back to the hybrid model, it will be video classes. It's
weird.
Complicated.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's weird.
But the kids have the option to stay home. And again, because there's some attention difficulties there, I'm not sure if that's going to be as beneficial to him as if he's in a room alone without the distractions of the other kids doing different things at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that might be a challenge. Although I think, he's got an advisor who's kind of on top of it and going to be watching out for it. It still just might not
we don't
mesh
know.
well. Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm curious to see. And also, since we're on the mask topic, this might be a little controversial, but I recently just did a book review on EnVibe Life that came out this week on Darren Olean's book called Super Life. And one of the things that he talks about in here is our natural detox system that our body has. And one of the main detox systems that our body naturally has is our exhale. And so our amazing bodies that do so much for us without us even thinking about it, when we inhale what's ever in the air, the body naturally exhales the toxins that do not benefit us. So once you put a mask on, you are then inhaling the things that your body's already rejected. Mm-hmm. So I'll be curious to see the long-term effects of wearing the mask. Now, here, and I know that some professions have to wear it more often than others. Now, being that I own an exercise facility, what we have done is we've asked clients because Austin is still on everybody wear a mask.
Right.
That's what's going on here.
Even outdoors.
Yeah. So I ask clients, when you come in, wear your mask. We take temperatures and sanitize. When you get on your piece of equipment and you start to actually exercise, since the equipment is more than 6 feet apart, I do give the client the permission to take their mask off because I'm asking them to take big inhales and big exhales. And I want that exhale to be part of the detox system and the movement system of I want the breath to be part of their movement. Right. And so I don't love the idea of wearing the mask through exercise. And we've had some clients tell us that their doctors, because they've had concussions, their doctors are saying to not exercise with a mask on if you've had a concussion.
I know. And you told me that. And I had never heard that. And I have a son who's had 2 concussions, one just a few months ago. So I was grateful that you gave me that piece of information.
You might want to go look that up for yourself. That's just kind of, I heard that from a client. And so I respect that. But I'm lucky that I have the ability to move. You have
a boutique studio.
Yes. And I have the ability, and it's big enough that I can move all my equipment 6 feet away. Most of my colleagues around the world do not have that luxury.
Are you hearing from them?
Yes. There's been fire sales on equipment.
Wow.
Equipment is being sold throughout the world because studios either don't have the space for it anymore.
To spread out.
And so they get rid of equipment so they can spread out their existing equipment if they've been able to keep their doors open. A lot of clients or colleagues of mine in the community have shut their studios down and maybe just brought all their equipment home. I've had several of my colleagues do that because it cuts the overhead, right? And it's interesting. I was talking to a colleague of mine this week that he was saying, right in the beginning, pulled his equipment out of an existing gym and brought it home. Clients continued to come and work was still pretty good, but now it is dead. It's dead. And it's interesting. He's like, I don't know if people have just started traveling more and they're not coming back because they don't have to because their kids are via Zoom.
I am seeing the trend of a lot of people who can travel.
Are traveling. Yes. And he also said that people are being more cautious with their money because that is a reality right now. That, financially things are not where they were before March, right?
Well, and there is a proliferation of options for exercising via streaming. You have a streaming service.
I have a streaming service, which is actually doing well. There's new people joining up all the time. So I'm blessed that I had that opportunity, and I'd actually started that business pre-COVID, but COVID did give me the opportunity to kind of boost it,
Yeah, but that might be something going on in your industry. So this brings me to another topic. because, you're talking about people coming into your studio. The last time we recorded this podcast in July, I remember both of us talking about the fact that we just felt something shifting. And like it was shifting to increased stress, increased fear. There were more cases in Austin, cases proliferating, and the fact that we had been in shutdown for months already, and then we're having to say, okay, we've got to get even more diligent now. We thought we were doing a good job. Right. It didn't work. Now let's get even more diligent. And, it's kind of hard to pull within yourself, whether it's individually or as a community, and say, all right, we've got to suck it up even more than we've been doing. And you and I both talked about how whether it was friends or colleagues or people you see in your studio, we felt an intensifying feeling and more stress and more fear and more anxiety. I want to see what you're thinking now because, and for those of you who don't know, Cheryl owns this Pilates studio, physical therapy clinic. It's kind of in the middle of Austin. So we know we're really only talking about Austin right now, but you have truly a crossroads of people coming into your studio because you're really centrally located in town. And so you have a good feel on the pulse of what people are feeling. From what I'm seeing, I feel like people are, I don't know if it's that they're loosening up or they're more optimistic or I don't know, something is shifting to me the other way now. Maybe everyone's just accepting it more like, okay, this is what we're going to have to do, but we can do it. I don't know what it is.
Just to kind of give you a little what's going on in the studio. Like Amy said, I hear a lot what's going on in the community. I feel like it's how I get my news from my clients and what's going on. Just this week, there's been a little bit of an uptick on the Pilates side. People are starting to come back, which the physical therapy side picked up much quicker. And the Pilates was just dragging, had I not had the physical therapy side to maintain my business, it would have not been beneficial for me to keep my doors open on the Pilates side of it. So this week I've had a few people come back for the first time since before March. And I've even had a couple clients go, are people even worried about COVID anymore? So that shocked me, but that was a vibe that I was getting. Even though they're walking into my place and masking and we're doing things way different than we did before March, I do think people are still worried about it. I do think that that's the case. But I think people they've had enough and they're ready to get out and live their lives. And they might have to live their lives a little differently, but they are willing to do that now.
I feel like maybe there's obviously a new normal. People are at least starting to maybe feel like I can still live within this new normal.
Yes.
If that makes sense. And maybe it's not what we all wished we were doing or how we wish we were doing it. I know for my husband and myself, we love to entertain. It's been hard not to just be able to say, hey, everyone, come over. Even the couple small things we've done that have been within the parameters that our guidelines are. It's still like, okay, everyone stay 6 feet away from each other while we, each toast from afar or whatever it is. It's a little odd, but it's been hardly anything. And that, that's had an emotional effect.
Yeah. It's a little bit depressing.
Yeah.
Well,
we need community.
We need community.
Yeah.
And even, I feel like Stephen and I are both homebodies and we love to be at home and, we don't do a whole lot. He goes to see a lot of music. I go shopping with Stacy or exercise with my good friend. But we don't get to go shopping anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because the stores, they're slowly coming back up. But I don't, financially now I'm being more careful.
Right.
Because reality is things are not where they were. So, that shift is there. And that when there's a long Saturday and you're like, oh, this would be a perfect time. We could go do this. We have gone to the farmer's market. That helps, but it's not the same. I'm not getting the same scratch itch with the farmer's market that I was with the clothing store. So, but
it's even new activities. Last weekend, I played golf. And so that's nice. It was getting outside and for several hours and, my husband and myself and our personal golf cart, we were very safe. We really didn't cross paths with anyone. And so that was a nice thing to do. But I think people are also leaning into those things you can do. I've heard a lot of people talking about nature walks and hikes, which is really great.
Is it hard to get a tea time, or has it been not as busy?
You know, it's always a little hard, but we went in the afternoon. It was just super hot.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Thank God this week is not that hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on with the studio, and hopefully that trend continues, because I think business-wise, we need that, or we have to make other changes, because we're still running at half of the capacity that we were before.
Yeah.
And you can only sustain that for so long.
Yeah. You know? And so I think that's another thing that Cheryl and I want to share with the community. And it's that we're really having to lean into and apply to a lot of the principles we talk about on these podcasts and in our articles. So those EnVibe principles of mindfulness and gratitude and staying present, and where you put your attention, you're going to bring about more of that.
Choose joy. That was one of the
joy and happiness. We're not saying those things because things are so easy for us. It's easy to say that. And I think it's important we share that with everyone. You just shared that it's been stressful on your business. We have EnVibe Life is a new business for us. And so it's still a startup in an incubation stage. This isn't supporting us in doing what we're doing. It's more of a passion project at the moment. And we have other businesses that support us, and they've been very successful businesses in the past, and we're extremely grateful for that. But we are in enduring stress with those businesses too. And so I just want everyone to understand that my husband and I, in our business, our market is greatly contracting, and things are, the year started off great, and then you could just see what happened after COVID, and shrinking and just stresses in the industry that mean that for our personal business and the way our business model runs, we're having to face some stressful circumstances at times. And so we're sitting here talking about happiness even when Cheryl and I are stressed out.
Yeah, we're having to look for it. Because there are some, I think it was last week's podcast, we talked about the sleep part, the challenge in sleep. We might not have talked about that.
Yeah,
or maybe that
I'm
was a personal conversation.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we did that. Last week's podcast was on gratitude.
Okay.
So
well, personally, we had talked about how sometimes it can be challenging to sleep. That is, I think, a reflection of stress, because I'll wake up in the middle of the night and start going over the to-do list.
I totally do that.
Or things like that. And that doesn't happen to me as often if I'm not worried about things.
Yeah.
So when that starts happening, then I start to realize, oh, you are a little more worried than maybe you think you are in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
But my body kind of will do that to me. Physical stress reactions happen before I've actually paid attention enough to be like, oh, yeah, you're stressed out and you didn't even know it.
Well, when we talk about listen to the whispers.
Yes.
And so let's talk about some things, still even more tools, because I know I've kind of taken it up a notch in the last few weeks. And it's weird because I'm sitting here saying, on the one hand, I feel like everyone's easing up a little, but on the other hand, things are getting a little more restrictive in our business.
Yeah.
So I have been meditating more.
Yeah.
Like we talk about, my go-to technique is meditation. And I've not only done my normal kind of, I like to start the day in meditation. Again, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, because that's all I have, because we're running late or I overslept or whatever. I like to start the day in meditation, but I've also been in the middle of the day, whenever I can, doing longer guided meditations. And very, like Dr. Joe Dispenza is one of my favorites for this, talking about, and it's about helping control the energy in your body so that you are getting into a place where you can tap into positive energies and emotions with Dr. Dispenza's theory of being when you are focused on those unlimited possibilities or unlimited emotions, that's the place you have to be in order to bring about more positive.
Got it.
And so I've been doing things to try to intentionally keep my emotional being, my energetic being positive, in a state of gratitude. Limitless is a great word, isn't it? But first of all, in a state of gratitude. Because remember, and we talked about gratitude last week, but I'm going to go right back to it because I've been using it even more this past week. When you are in a state of gratitude, what you're doing is saying thank you. When you say thank you, it's because you have received something or something good has happened to you. So if you keep yourself in that state of good things happening to you, then you're attracting more good things happening to you.
Yes.
That's Dr. Dispenza says gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. He says,
love it.
And that's, something, that I've worked on a lot over the years is allowing myself to receive. I tend to be the person to say, no, I'll do everything, not sit back and receive everything. And I've really been working a lot on that. And I think I'm not saying I can point to any one thing that's happened as a result of it, but my emotional state is pretty good.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm sleeping pretty well, even though I'm stressed out about a lot of things. It's not, it's kind of like, does that stress, do you take it, observe it, and say, okay, it's here. What am I supposed to learn from it? What am I supposed to do from it? And then release it? Or do you let it really get into the core of your being? Right. And settle into your body. And that's two different ways you can look at stress. And it really, really, I think, can make a difference in your life if you can learn even to be intentional. We talk about intentionality about your stress and how you deal with it.
Right. Definitely. It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Because I'll fess up. I have not had a great week of going to gratitude and doing all of that. We've been dealing with some house issues and that just puts me in that frustrated mood. Yeah. And when I get in that frustrated mode, it's much harder for me to find gratitude and gratefulness. And
because what you focus on comes to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's been definitely a challenging week with that. So that's a good reminder. Thank you.
But do you have any tools that you have been using? I know one of the things you've been doing is learning new things.
Yes.
Because you've been reading so many new books on epigenetics and health and reversing aging. You've even inspired me to go into those areas more deeply than I have before. So that's, I think, I'm going to speak for you. One thing you've done is
dive into that.
Learn new things.
Because it feeds my soul. I love to know about the body and what's going on with it and what we can do to have a healthier body. So I have dove into that deeply. Also, I would say that I've been meditating a little bit more, but I've been trying to observe in my meditations when I'm going through the motions or actually getting something out of it. And I do think, I know that you are so forgiving with meditation.
I am.
But I have noticed that sometimes I'm just doing what I think I should be doing versus taking that meditation to, so this might be a better way to explain it. Sometimes I'm just saying like a mantra in my head instead of feeling what I'm saying. And if I can feel it, it's better than me just saying it. Although sometimes saying it, eventually I feel it. But I've tried to not put so much importance on what those words are and put a little bit more importance to what the feelings are. And I think that for me personally helps me feel like I'm growing in this meditation and getting a little more authentic with what I want to get out of it. Maybe it's just me evolving.
No, I think that's a really good, I'd say a couple things about that. One thing I'd say is, that sounds great. And it is more about the feeling and shifting your emotional state. The other thing I'd say is even when you think it's not perfect, I'd still say it's better than not.
It's better than nothing. Exactly. So I have been doing more of that with this, but I think the reason I was doing it was not necessarily great. It was like, you've got to be meditating because you're frustrated. And I don't necessarily I think I need to take a step back and be okay with maybe some of the things that are frustrating me and accepting those feelings. And once you accept them, then take your steps to help deal with them versus getting mad at having them and just trying to push them down and not have them. I think that that's two different things or two different ways of dealing with it.
You could also write them down.
Yeah.
And make a list of them. Let the paper hold them so your heart doesn't have to.
Yes.
A little bit.
I know. I could do that too.
Yeah. And you can come back to them.
Yes. I'm not a good journaler, but I could.
It's a list. Don't even journal. Make a list. It can be shorthand. It doesn't have to
I'm a good list person. I do that. I try and if I don't make a list, then the week doesn't go as well. I try and sit down on Sundays and list out the whole week, and because Lord knows I'll forget something.
Yeah, but my husband's a to-do list maker.
Oh, I'm a to-do list maker.
Yeah,
and I could make one for everyone in the house if they would let me. I'm a good delegator. Yeah. I think that people don't like to see me coming with that list. But so I think this is a good check-in. We kind of went over
this is the state of EnVibe Life. September 2020 is kind of
September 2020.
What this is,
and what we're feeling, and what we're hearing around town, and what we're seeing. And it'll be interesting. Hopefully, we get back at this within the next month or two and give another check-in. It's September, so in 2 months we're going to be creeping up on Thanksgiving and the holidays. And I do know that Halloween has been a topic of conversation amongst parents. My kids
are younger.
They're a little younger. They're not, I think that I probably am just out of that window of trick-or-treating. Maybe my youngest will still go with his group of friends. They're still going to find their friends. But it's going to be interesting to see how that shifts this year. It used to be, I live in a community where big groups of kids would get together and parents were out and, the streets were busy and packed and houses were open and people were going in. There was parties in everybody's houses and you just kind of made yourself around the neighborhood in and out of everybody's houses, eating and drinking and really enjoying Halloween. That's how it's been in the past. So,
Yeah, that should be about the time. I'd say sometime around Halloween, we should be doing another check-in. That'd be about 5 or 6 weeks away from today.
Yes.
And so that would be a good point in time. And maybe before then, again, I'd love to do a check-in from the school's perspective.
Totally.
With
maybe we can get
Dr.
that
Waring.
sooner
and get that going. But, hopefully everyone out there is feeling, if not an easing, then
maybe a little optimism.
I would love it to be some optimism. Even if it's just about, I can handle this.
Yes.
Even that's something to be grateful for, optimistic for. Trust in yourself and your resourcefulness and your ability to find the tools to help you through it. Think back, where were you, let's say, March the 10th versus now in the middle of September, and look at all you've gone through and be proud of yourself and your family and your business for what you have navigated, because it's been rocky and it's also been unprecedented, and you can't plan for something that has never ever happened before. So, maybe give yourself a little pat on the back and be kind, be gentle, and
be grateful.
Be grateful. Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, and we'll check back in a couple of weeks and give you what's going on. But go ahead and check out our website at EnVibeLife.com so that you can get that book review on this book, Super Life by Darren Owen.
We'll link it. We'll also link that Back to School podcast we did a couple weeks ago, so you can find all those resources.
Definitely. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the EnVibe Life podcast. For more information and to join our community, be sure and check out our website at www.envibelife.com. We look forward to sharing with you.